Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the 44th Forum on Tolerance. Black Lives Matter, the U.S. Journey to Justice and Healing. My name is Laurie Carlson, and I'm the chair of the Forum on Tolerance Committee. NSCC Forums on Tolerance teach tolerance, embrace diversity, and support a learning environment. They began in 1994 as an outgrowth of Dr. Sheldon Brown's work in Holocaust studies, and they broached many diversity and inclusion related topics every year. Although these forums have been running for 36 years, I'm sorry to say that I don't think that we've yet reached tolerance as a society. Otherwise, the statement that Black Lives Matter would be a given and not still a necessary rallying cry 7 years after Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi created a Black-centered political will and movement building project centering around a social media hashtag after the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murderer, George Zimmerman. But there have been way too many names since Trayvon, Breonna, George, way too many more. But thank you for joining us for the last of the 6 segments that have comprised part 1 of North Shore Community College's Forum on Tolerance, Black Lives Matter, the U.S. Journey Towards Justice and Healing. I want to thank the co-sponsors of this event, Salem State University and North Shore Community College's Office of Student Engagement. I would also like to thank Salem State University's VP of Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Sean Bennett in particular, for his support of this forum series. I'd also like to thank our own NSCC Interim President, Dr. Nate Bryant, as well as the Dean and Assistant Dean of Liberal Studies, Andrew DeFisco Sullivan and Chris Bedner, for their support of this series. This is part 1 of a 2-part series, so please look for part 2 in the spring. And before I introduce the person who will be introducing our guest of honor tonight, I'd like to thank the rest of the Forum on Tolerance Committee and just give you some guidance on the Q&A period. So thank you to the entire Forum on Tolerance Committee for all of your hard work. Thank you to Dr. Lisa Altamari, Dr. Sheldon Brown, Tan Gadiri, Professor Yusuf Hayes, Dr. Carl Jean, Amanda Doolin, Jennifer Chavez, Sully Sullivan, Dr. Robert LeBlanc, Professor Wanda Pothier-Hill, Professor Sherry Raftery-Patton, our student Lily Kaplan, Dr. Kara Kaufman, and Michelle Kubeli-Harris. Also, thank you to the many North Shore Community College folks not on the committee who've gone out of their way to help us out in the series. Thank you, Andrea Milligan, Lucy Bayard, Denise Katie Arbrough, Linda Brantley, Jennifer Harris, Indira Lesba, Jim Harrington, Jeff Wardwell, Nadira McDonald, and Ijo Katagiri. This event and all the events are being recorded and will be available for viewing soon. They'll also be shown on Lynn Community TV in the near future. If you do have a question, please post it in the chat so that we can call on you during our Q&A. Likewise, you can raise your hand in the participants window during that Q&A. Please keep questions and comments respectful and limited to 1 minute. Now I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Wanda Pothier-Hill from the Departments of First Year Experience and Gender and Women's Studies, who will introduce our speaker for tonight.
Thank you, Laurie. Welcome to the Forum on Tolerance. I'd like to introduce Valerie Stevens. Valerie Stevens is a performing artist and an arts educator whose professional career spans 35 years. Ms. Stevens has worked with schools and community-based arts organizations throughout New England. Using history, art, and self-expression, she has developed an interactive and integrated curriculum and productions. Some of the organizations she has worked with include the Wheelock Family Theater, Springfield Museum of Natural History, the Children's AIDS Project, Raw Arts of Lynn, Germaine Lawrence School for Girls, and the Cambridge Multicultural Arts Center. Valerie developed and taught 3 middle school courses focusing on the 19th century women in medicine and public health methodology for the Girls Get Connected, a program affiliated with Simmons College, committed to inspiring girls to choose technical careers. Some additional residencies she's taught for children include Migration and Immigration, African American Folktales and Creative Dramatics, Travels of Anansi the Spider, We Are All Living in One House, political poetry, and rap. Moreover, Ms. Stevens has served as the artistic consultant and teaching artist for the City Center of the Performing Arts in Boston. And she's also served as the Director of Cultural Programming and Community Partnership for the International House of Blues Foundation, where she wrote and directed the interactive production on the history of blues. Ms. Stevens has received numerous awards for her work. In 2019, she received the Brother Thomas Fellowship with Unrestricted Award of $15,000, the 2019 Bridge Arts Awards. In 2018, the Boston City Council resolution for creating the annual event Princess Day, celebrating little girls of color. And she was also recognized for her commitment to Nina Simone's legacy. In 2017, she was awarded the New England Foundation for the Arts Creative City Grant for creating Elder Storytelling Performance Project. Prior to that, she received the Get Connected Boston Legends and Pioneer Award in 2016. In 2011, the NAACP Image Award. And in 2007, she received the Urban Music Award in Blues. She was a nominee for the 2011 Urban Music Award in Jazz, as well as citations of appreciation from the City of Boston, New Bedford, and Springfield. Ms. Stevens' current project is Rewriting the Mammy Diaries, an exploratory tribute to the unnamed, often vilified women called Mammy. In addition, she's producing Nina Simone and hip hop concert. She's also creating I'm Not Your Preconceived Notion or Mine, a biographical performance piece. Please join me in giving Valerie Stevens a warm welcome to North Shore Community College's 44th Forum on Tolerance. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I listened to that and I sort of get scared. I did that, huh? Wow, I forgot. Moving forward. Thank you for having me. It is a joy and an honor. Being an artist and a performing artist, I always wonder, are people really paying attention to what's going on in my mind? So I'm glad to hear somebody's paying attention. So, yes, as you know, and those who are listening don't know, when I was first approached to talk about as a part of this series on tolerance, and I said, well, I might not be the right person for you to talk to because, see, I'm not feeling very tolerant, okay? You know, I'm not feeling it at all. So you might want someone else. And I would say, oh no, speak your mind. And I said, okay. When I was approached by Professor Wanda, it was about Princess Day, an organization, an event that I created 7 years ago for little girls of color. The full name is Princess Day, Celebrating Little Girls of Color. In some ways was a full circle for me. I was born here in Boston. I'm unabashedly proud Black Bostonian. I say that because I found this important during my time touring as an actor. And I spent 7 years on the road with Underground Railway Theater playing Harriet Tubman, 200 cities in 35 states. More often than not, I always heard, I didn't know there were Black people in Boston. I heard it everywhere. And now I ask different Black people, has anyone asked you that or said that to you? And yes. So I say, this is my city. My grandmother came here from Jamaica. She worked extremely hard. My mother's a community organizer. They, through their work, have bought me a piece of this city. It is mine. And that's how I move through this city. To get to Princess Day being full circle, you have to know that I, as a little girl in Boston, I lived in the South End. And Laura, you can put that little picture up. I'm going to be talking back and forth about these slides I have, and very informally. So yes, that was me at 5 years old in the South End on Northampton Street. Northampton Street was a street in which there were a lot of West Indians. It's in the South End. And I was born there, a little Black girl. One of the things I say is that from the day I took my first breath was when I became political, because my birth was political. And it took me a long time to figure that out, but in retrospect, I was right. You see, under race on my birth certificate, it has a C for colored. That was my race, and that's on my birth certificate now. You can take that picture down. All right, thank you. As a little Black girl in Boston, you know, you don't know it was hard until you grow up. I thought it was just the norm to be a little Black girl in Boston and trying to figure it out in the South End and do the things that Bostonians did, trying to take them on as my own. You know, I really wanted to do Irish dancing. I really wanted to do that because I thought that was a part of culture. And you see, when I was a little girl, there were no books with little Black children in them. There were no reference at all. I was born in 1951. I am 68 years old, and my birthday is next month. So it was a different time. Yeah, there were never any Black children in any books that I ever saw. I never saw myself except how I was compared to little white girls. Now, this is stuff that is not said. It is a part of the training, and this is a conversation I've been having, the training to survive, the price that they put on assimilation, what you give up of yourself in order to feel assimilated. So I made my way through. I never had a Black teacher until I went to college. I went to UMass Amherst at a wonderful time. It was crazy, but it was fun. And because that was when I had my first Black teachers, one of which changed my life, Dr. Esther Terry. This is actually the 50th. Right now, starting today, they're celebrating a month-long celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Afro-Am department at UMass Amherst. And it changed my life. I was introduced to me. Prior to that, I was always looking for me. You see, it wasn't in the books. I never saw me. And I started reading. First, I went to a book that I found in a library where I lived, in the library, about Native Americans, but everybody in that book was white. So I'm like, well, I guess all Native Americans are white except the ones on television that I saw. But I started looking. By the time I was in the 5th grade, I was reading Pearl S. Buck, trying to find me. And it went on like that. My love for history is a part of that. The other aspect of that is my love for science fiction. Thank God for Dr. Lieutenant Uhuru in Star Trek. And you could talk to a lot of folks who were turned on to science and science fiction through that woman in Star Trek. She changed those things. So all of these things moved me through who I am. We bring it forward. I mean, I went there, I worked at different universities. I've worked for UMass Amherst, Hampshire College, and BU. But theater moved my heart, and I became an actor, a full-time actor. My first large role was that of Harriet Tubman. I played Harriet Tubman with the Underground Railway Theater and learned a lot. And I also found out this. You see, there was no place for me in Boston in theater in the 80s. So I learned very quickly that I had to create my own. I even had somebody say something to me, we loved your audition, but we don't have anything for you. But if you find a play, you bring it to us. I said, wait a minute, I got to find my own play to get a role. And other than Wheelock Family Theater, there really wasn't any place. So I started creating my own. And so that brings me up to where I am now, because one of the things I've learned is that in order to create change, you have to use the talents that you have. For me, my talent was performance. My mom was a community organizer. She was great at that. That was her talent in order to change the attitudes in Boston. Mine is performance. And so the work and my body of work that started is because of that. Princess Day, Wanda, Princess Day. Princess Day I created for my niece, grandniece. It started as we were walking, she wanted to wear her little outfit walking to the street. And this woman came up to her, and she was 5, and she said, "Oh, who are you, Snow White?" And I said, "No," because I bristled. Of course I bristled. I said, "No, it's Princess Day." And that's how it began. I waited until I moved to a neighborhood that I live in now. I'm in the middle of Roxbury in a park. And I decided to do a princess party for my niece. And I called it Princess Day, celebrating little girls of color. I got a lot of blowback because of that. I was asked, "Well, why do you have to say celebrating little girls of color?" And why not? Why not? And it became a thing. So if you could put this first slide, the second slide up, please, Laurie. The first Princess Day, celebrating little girls of color, was this group. I paid for it myself. Princess Day. The next one. Yeah. We had a total of about 25 girls. This is the picture that I have from that period, and my grandniece and nieces and around the neighborhood. And they loved it. I wanted to do this in retrospect. I realized that when I was a little girl, nobody called me princess. You see, in the attitude at that time, Black little girls were never, ever going to be princess. Nobody called us princesses. We never saw any vision of us. The closest I could get to any kind of princess is if I went and followed Barbie the doll. That was as close as I could get to it. So this was Princess Day, me and my hat, and the girls were wonderful. And thank you, could take it down. And I still got grief. My neighborhood is a rapidly becoming mixed neighborhood, rapidly becoming mixed. And it was a white man who says, "Why do you have to sue princesses, celebrating little girls of color?" And ultimately, a couple of other neighbors chimed in. But I said, if you cannot understand why it's important to honor little girls of color for 3 hours out of 365 days, I really don't have time to explain it to you. I don't have tolerance for that. I don't need to have tolerance for that. My attitude is this: I had to figure out who I am, and I'm still learning. If you are really interested and you really have passion, go find the books I had to find, because it's all there. And we did it. Well, the next year, somebody said, "Valerie, why don't you try GoFundMe?" I said, "I can't put out another $1,000. And I did a GoFundMe. And so the second year was this. And you can show that, Laurie. The second year of Princess Day. Is it coming up? We had 100 little girls. Can you bring that slide up, please? Yeah. That was the second year of Princess Day. We had little girls who came from New Hampshire. We had little girls who came from Rhode Island, from Springfield, from the Cape. I had no idea the power and necessity of saying those words, celebrating little girls of color. And it just grew. Everything is free. It's through GoFundMe. They make their own crowns and sashes. They have their faces painted. They get free books from the Read Boston program. And we do snacks, and they learn dances, and they play. And it is a rip-roaring time. The girls have a wonderful time dressed up with other girls who look like them. Now, with regard to the person who said, "Well, what about little white girls?" And I said, "Well, listen, there are no princess police. If you read, Princess Day celebrating little girls of color, and you bring your child, that's on you. That's not on me. Your child is welcome." Well, the children took care of me, because there were some little girls who brought their best friends who happened to be white. And it just grew. The children knew how to deal when the adults couldn't, you know. And so it's continued, and you could take that down. Thank you. Um, when we talk about tolerance and intolerance, and you've had me have conversations about this over the last 2 weeks, talking to people and talking about tolerance and having it, I've come to this conclusion: I don't have any. Nor am I going to wait for you to get yours. I don't have time. Better to use what I can do to start conversations and use my talent as an artist to bring out conversations. It's taken me this long to figure out certain things. And what am I going to tolerate? I will not tolerate being insulted. I've had to learn how not to tolerate it because my training is to tolerate it. I'm out of the civil rights movement, but I'm also out of the Black Power movement. I was taught to sit and be peaceful. That was the first one. I realized I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to move on the sidewalk when a white person is coming down the street towards me. I mean, this is Boston. In the South, you would have to get off the street. Here, you just move to the side. I don't have to say I'm sorry when you bang into me. That's not only a color thing and a woman thing. And you know it. Somebody bumps into you, and women more often than not will say, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. So this is where I'm at now. And I'm willing to take on certain things. As I've gotten older, as an artist, I realize if I give myself the title of artist, with that comes responsibilities. And so I started looking at my legacy. My legacy is this to my community here in Boston, to start the conversations. Since I know, and we know it in 2020, that a lot of things have changed and a lot of haven't. I was just talking to the city council president, Kim Janey, today. And I was saying, 2020, for everything that's happened, it has ripped the scab off. We are not wearing masks anymore. The scab has been written off. It is here. So it didn't happen as I thought it would in the civil rights movement or in the Black Power movement. The change that I expected and wanted, and we talked about 50 years ago, is not completely here, although it's better. So what should I do? Use what I got to help shore up people, bring out these conversations. I am willing to go to the edge to do that. And so that's what I'm doing. Have I talked too long yet? No. I'm a storyteller. I will talk. I talk. One of the first things I did was create a program teaching elders to be storytellers. It's called the Elder Storytelling Project. It is Mother and Father Wit Life Lessons, to shore up these elders who feel that they have no significance anymore. And I've run into them. And yet they are the backbone of this community. They are the threads of this tapestry. So at one program, I work with them, helping them write the story. I said, oh no, I'm gonna teach them how to stand up on stage and own their piece of property and say who they are. That ran for 4 years. Yeah. And the elders, I meet them a lot. They love it. And we did it at Old South Meeting House, and the place is sold out. Generations of people came to hear these elders tell their stories. The students were 65 to 85. And they're wonderful, wonderful people, in most cases, women. That helps my community. One of the things I do, I use my art, and I'm still trying to find myself. So I do believe this is the next one. Yeah. Can you bring up number 5? And I'll just talk it through while you all take it in. I did a play in which those are the elders, yes. Yes, they're wonderful women, wonderful women. Uh, yeah, who was there? Was the woman who's 85? Well, I won't tell you who she is. She would get on me. Um, can you switch to the next slide, please? Yes. All right. Hold on to your chairs. Yes, I put on blackface. I I did a play called Neighbors in which I played Mammy because there were my friend Triple Double Dog dared me to play Mammy in blackface. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And it opened up this whole other world to me for myself and understanding these women. So after I did Neighbors, I decided to explore mammies in this world and who were these women. And I also wanted to answer this question: what is the price of assimilation? And who determines our aesthetic? And growing up, the worst thing you could say to me since I was a big girl is to call me Mammy. That was the ultimate insult. And so I explored it. The plan right now is to explore, update it and expand it into 3 characters. I found that people can talk about race and be extremely intellectual. I've heard more than my fair share of intellectual conversations about race, and it is emotional. You put on blackface, intellect goes out the window. It affects us emotionally. Not only does it affect people of color, but it also affects white people as well. The last time I've done aspects of this was for Emerson College, yeah. And I did ask portions of it, and I had to stop the show because the students you could see them starting to get very uncomfortable. And so I stopped and asked them, are you all right? What are you feeling? And it turns out they didn't understand the history of Mammy, but it made them feel ill. They were uncomfortable. A woman said, I want to come up there and grab that out of your hand. These 2 colors represent something that is such a part of the training, that it affects them, and it's been passed on. They didn't know why, but they knew this was something that they shouldn't have see. And that's why I do it. We have got to go to the emotional end of it because I'm not tolerant anymore. Okay, so that's me in blackface. Yeah, I'm at this age and I say, hey, if that helps the conversation, I will put blackface on. I'm not afraid anymore. The fear is gone. So thank you. The next picture, I've gone from theater and I've tried to incorporate all the things I do. I specialize in Nina Simone's music. I saw Nina Simone freshman year at UMass Amherst. And that was the first time I'd even ever heard of Nina Simone. And so I've been doing her music now for 14 years. The current piece that these are my musicians, and there's a poet here. And I just did 3 concerts in Cambridge in August. This is Nina Simone in hip hop. I am trying to, apply Sankofa, go back and grab it, and apply it to a very contemporary time period because her music is still relevant. Okay, so I have a hip hop poet with me. As you see the crew here, I have 4 countries represented: Japan, Puerto Rico, Cider Fuller, my drummer, and Suriname, my bass player. And Yuki is my keyboard player. And Art Collins is a slam poet who also works for the Boston School Department. We have taken Nina Simone's music, excuse me, and applied that to what's going on now. Nina Simone's music, a lot of the pieces are more political pieces, are 50 years old and 55 years old, and yet they're still relevant. That is a beauty and a beast. They should not, Mississippi goddamn should not be relevant. And yet it still is. And we do it now. So this is something I'm prepping to tour. That is my love, and this is my crew. This is what I do. I'm moving forward because that was my half-hour cue, and I can talk. Can we go to the next slide, please? I asked the questions. I'm still looking for myself, because I found that once I figured out what I got, there's another decade and everything changes. But I'm asking the questions. This is a panel that I put together. It's interesting. I put it together 2 years ago with poets and visionaries who are a part of Boston. Skia Torre, Jackie Parker, Catherine Morris, and Lamarche Frazier and me. And we talked about the political force, and is it still as viable as it was during the Black arts of the 70s? And it was a wonderful conversation. I feel that we have to have those conversations, and I'm willing to do it. And the next slide, please. That is me. That is me a couple of weeks ago. Storytelling. I did 2 seasons, but the reason I wanted to show you that is that box in the background. I don't know if you've ever heard of Henry Box Brown. Henry Box Brown mailed himself to freedom in 1843. He came out of, where did he come out of? Oh my goodness, he came out of Virginia. And working with the abolitionists, he had himself nailed into a box of that size. We use the dimensions of the box. He was nailed in there with water and some biscuits, and they shipped him to Philadelphia. He was in that box for 27 hours, a lot of times upside down, because of course you put fragile on the top, that's going to be the part on the bottom. And that's what he did. This is a part of what I'm doing now, bringing tangible evidence to do storytelling, the freedom stories. I don't know, I'm not tolerant. I've learned how not to be. I fight it now for ageism, and being a Black woman and older is a whole nother set of challenges. So I've come to the conclusion that they're not going to change. So my job as an artist is to shore up my community, give them the best that I can. The programs that I'm getting ready to work on and get funding for, I am getting ready to do in the late spring, an ongoing event on diabetes for people of color. I'm a diabetic. I've lost 3 of my brothers. I only had 3, and I've lost them all to diabetes. My brother died in August. I'm also going to do a piece when we can come outside called The Heart of a Black Man, because we talk about all aspects of a Black man except his heart. And I think it's time we do that. I guess what I'm trying to do is understand my own strength and have a legacy that I can pass on. I don't have any money. I don't have a house. I do have some nice clothes. But I can pass on these life lessons, and I can't think of a greater thing that I can do. So I would say, do not be tolerant. Stand up, as John Lewis said, the good fight, and do the good trouble, get into the good trouble. That's what I'm trying to do. Be bold. Ain't nothing wrong with being bold, all right? Make a mistake, get up, do it again, try something new. And basically, that's who I am. So thank you for having me. And you could take that down. Nice outfit. So are there any questions, comments? As I said to my students, dewdrops of wisdom. Yes.
First of all, very inspirational, really. Thank you. I actually have two questions. I see Laura's have two questions. The first question is, I guess what brings you or gives you the most joy? Because you have an eclectic.
No.
I like to say you're a person with many appetites. You do a lot.
And to me, they all fit together.
And so I'd just be curious to know what gives you the greatest joy. That's the first question of all the things that you do. And then you touched on ageism, and particularly ageism as a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I very rarely hear anyone speak about. So I could expand on that a little bit.
I'll do the ageism, and I'm going to show you a little picture in terms of what gives me the greatest joy. The ageism, one of the things I find as I've grown, I've become more and more aware of people around me. As an actor, that's what you do, as you develop things and characters and all of that, and the work that I do. And I noticed when I turned 60, I was doing my thing. I work in nightclubs. Most of my work as a vocalist is in clubs at night. And I have a younger audience. So I didn't pay that much attention. When I hit 65, it really became an issue because all of a sudden I was looked at differently. And I've been told by people in the medical field that I shouldn't be working at this point in my life. I've been told I should sit on the porch in a rocking chair and read. Yeah. And that kind of thing, I'm being compared to a white template for white women and how they age. We age differently. We look differently as we age. So when folks say, well, you don't look that age, I said, this is what it looks like. This is mine. And the words that, it's a battle. I found that it's a battle. The words that people use to you. I was talking to a nurse on the phone and she said to me, you sound so spry. I said, spry? Get ready, yeah. I said, I'm so sexual. What are you talking about, spry? That's how we're looked at, and
You muted yourself.
Somebody muted, but there it is.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the way I look at it. I'm sorry I said sexual. You're censoring me now.
No. We're all adults here.
Yeah, that's why I said, this is what happened. And I go through it all the time. Why are you still working? At your age, you're not supposed to be working. Why are you dancing? I like to go out and dance. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Or it's the other side. Oh, you're that age. Well, then now we're not going to take you in. We can't hire you because our audience is younger. And yet I have a younger following. So it's a constant thing and that's the way I came up with the title of it. I'm not your preconceived notion. I do not fit in that template you've developed. And I won't. And I found that there's a lot of women who don't, with the way we look, or the way we act. And it is a battle. And I've seen women just say, I can't deal with it anymore. I can't fight it. So I'm not quite sure where it will end. I'm still in the middle of my battle. But since I don't necessarily talk the way the preconceived notion, I don't look that way, I don't act that way, I am constantly fighting and banging my head up against that stereotype. Okay. The end result, I don't know. I just keep fighting. The first time this pandemic has had an effect, the first time I've ever said I feel old because I wasn't working. My job keeps me going. So that's about all I could say. Yeah. Yes, I'll be 69 in 3 weeks. I'm psyched.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Hey, I made it. So we can go with that. What gives me the most joy? I don't know if I could find this picture. What gives me the most joy? I got a little video from a little boy um, who was about 6 years old. And I just got this like 3 days ago. He saw me doing storytelling. That Hibernian Hall ran 2 segments of me doing storytelling. And he sent me a video to thank me. He drew a picture and he was talking about, he said, this is a flower, and this is you. And my name is Dante, and it was written across, and he was dressed in his Black Panther outfit. That gave me more joy than anything else. And I thanked him, I thanked his mother for allowing him to do that, and the thoughts that he had. He told me another one, he said, I want to come see you again. That moves my heart, you know. Storytelling, I think, is some of the most powerful thing. And I've had stories, I've had young people ask me questions. I did one, and this 4-year-old asked, is freedom real? Right. A 4-year-old asked me that question. I was telling a story about the people who could fly. I had another boy in February, this past February, he was in the 3rd grade. I tell the story of William and Ellen Craft. And I don't know if you've ever heard of them. William and Ellen Craft, thumbnail. They were both slaves out of Georgia. She was extremely light-skinned. He was dark. The way they got to freedom was she pretended to be a young white man, and he was her servant, and they rode the train. You can get books on, you can Google them. From Philadelphia, they got to Philadelphia, they were free. They came up to Boston. They lived in Newton, their house is over there. And then when it got really bad here with the Fugitive Slave Act, they moved to London and then moved back when the Civil War was over. A little boy said to me, why was Ellen a slave? She looked white. And I looked at him and I realized how he sees himself and the whole notion of what is slavery. I looked up at his teacher, and she was a Black woman. She said, yeah, we're going to talk about it in the classroom. And I simply said to him, we come in all different shades, and left it like that. Storytelling and kids are very powerful. And if anything, you should tell stories about your background. I don't know who has children, who doesn't, but they need to hear these stories. Therein lies their strength, so that you are preparing them for what they've got to deal with. And you know they got stuff coming down the pike. If we're going through this in 2020, you know it's not going to be over with the end of election month. You know, it's not going to be over. It's going to have to start all over again. And storytelling in my work is trying to give that strength and knowledge, to give them something, some, you know, ammunition to move forward. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We do have a question for you in the chat, Valerie. This is actually from one of Wanda's daughters, Rachel Hill. What is the one thing that you'd like to see more people do to have a positive impact on equality today?
There's a line from Nina Simone that comes out of Mississippi, goddamn. You don't have to live next to me. Just give me my equality. Step back, understand, just as I talked about it being indoctrinated in the pride of assimilation, I am not the only one. And we as people of color, we're not the only ones who've paid the price. We've all paid that price. People don't talk about it, but anybody coming in here has paid the price. There's a wonderful book that is, and I forgot, I met the author once, How the Irish Became White. It's a wonderful book, how they changed to fit in. there is a price for assimilation. I think that understand the society in which we live, and I think 2020 has showed us a lot about that. It has given you a huge primer on what racism is in this life. And then check yourself, how you think. There's a man who was just fired from the Boston City Council. No, he quit today. I don't know if you heard about this. Did you hear about it? Yeah. And he was on the committee. Was he the head, the superintendent of the, superintendent of the school committee. And he was caught, he didn't turn his microphone off in Zoom. He was making fun of some people's names, some Asian people's names. And I think he made fun of, a Spanish name as well. And he got caught. I said, it's there. The scab has been pulled off, but you check yourself. I check myself all the time in order to survive in the world. Am I moving through who I am, or am I just going rote based on what I was trained to do or think? I check it all the time. Every time something happens or somebody bumps into me, click, 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 do I say I'm sorry or not? And it is a constant time. And each time, as I worked with women who were alcoholics and drug addicts. I was a facilitator, and I told them every time that does, you get a little jewel that you can wear around your neck. Every time you find that and you admit it and you change it, that's another jewel on your necklace. Soon, hopefully, your necklace will be jeweled all the way around. But I can't do it for you. And that's what I'm saying now. I can't teach you. It's yours. It's your journey, as mine has been mine. I'll support you in it, but I can't do it for you. And I'm going to stop trying. I have stopped trying. So I hope that answers. So, any other questions?
And Indira, do you have your hand up, or are you just clapping?
I'm just clapping. It's
Okay.
awesome.
Oh, hey!
Thank you.
This is me. This is me. So thank you.
Thank you.
So,
oh, go ahead.
I was just curious, what's next for you? What's?
Couple of things happening. I am I think I'm going back to GoFundMe. It's going to be weird, to raise money to create a video for Nina Simone and hip hop. I've checked, it is nothing like it happening anywhere in the country. And yet she is the most sampled artist out there. So I want to raise money to create a video so that when campuses open up again, I can start to promote that at colleges, because the hip hop aspect and the poetry aspect and what we're doing. I mean, we do Mississippi Goddamn with reggaeton. We're just flipping everything, and audiences are loving it. And yet it's still over 50 years old. So I'm getting ready to do that, and I am storytelling. I've been asked by 2 different groups to start teaching storytelling virtually, and we'll see how that rolls. But I've taught creative dramatics and storytelling and techniques to ages 4 up to 85. I have a lot of theater children out there. So those are things I'm going to be working on right now. We'll see what happens. I'm collecting information about the diabetes piece, but I know that won't happen until like May of next year. But collecting information on why we eat, what we eat, how we eat. There's a wonderful organization, website called Slave Food. And it does a whole history of food within folks of color, and the history of what we eat and how we're doing it. And I want to take that and apply the dietary choices I don't want to give up my mac and cheese, but there's got to be another way to do it. I don't want to give up the taste. I want to give up mac and cheese. So those are the things I'm working on. I keep myself busy. I keep myself busy. I'll be emceeing in Daryl's because I can't sing in there. They don't allow vocalists. So what the owner is doing is she's bringing vocalists who used to be there, vocalists, and we're becoming MCs for the shows, which I think is a great idea. Nia Grace is a wonderful entrepreneur and woman, and the owner of Daryl's, restaurant and bar. So that I'll be doing, as long as I can work. Yeah, there's a hand up.
Yes, that's me. We were earlier talking about some of the young women artists,
Yeah.
and that you work with, that I'm familiar with and just adore. And I'm wondering, when you are working with these young female artists of color,
Mm-hmm.
who identify as women and identify as queer,
Yeah.
what do you hear from them about being a young woman of color, queer artist in Boston and dealing with social justice issues? What are you hearing from them about what their struggles are, what they're hopeful with?
I think it's very interesting because the times they're changing. One of the things I do, first of all, I don't allow them to call me Miss Valerie. All right, because I
I
found
almost did that, by the way. I
yeah,
almost
no,
called
I
you Miss
know,
Valerie.
I figured, oh, respect. No, you respect me by treating me right. I don't care what title you give me. It's about the action. It is not about the word. But I find that there's an honesty that comes with that. And one of the things I'm finding in talking to, they're young and they're proud and they're strong and they're much more open than my generation. And yet there's a fragility in there. They don't necessarily have the history, and so they like to listen to me when I talk about, because I can talk about growing up in the civil rights movement, and in the Black Power movement, but there's frustration, but they have a lot more freedom than my generation had. And so they're exploring and they're speaking their mind. And I find it wonderful. My thing is I don't lecture. I can't be lecturing to them. It's like, all right, but this is something that happened that you might help you in your journey. I follow Sankofa. Go back and grab it, bring it forward. But yeah, like Oompa, they're doing, and Amanda Shea, they're doing wonderful work. They're doing wonderful, honest work. And in a lot of ways, they help me through their honesty. One of the things that I did, and when I did Gardner Museum and the storytelling from the soul, is I stepped out there because I was Amanda and Oompa was in it. And I have a need to be honest and tell truth. If my truth helps you, I have no problem. And one of the pieces I did was I call it from 4 to 7. From ages 4 to 7, I was molested by 2 men for those 3 years. Now, there's another time in my life where I would never say anything because women hide that. There's a shame, even though you are not responsible. Again, I'm not tolerant for that. I'm not hiding it, and there's no shame. And I put it out there. And everyone looked, but it was necessary. People came up and said yes. I got that from working with Amanda Shea and Oompa. There's an honesty, a directness that I'm still learning, and I'm learning from them. My mentor is Catherine Morris. Catherine Morris is half my age, and she's my mentor. So it goes both ways. I can teach, and they can teach. So it is that kind of sharing, and I'm loving it. I've learned so much. I mean, I'm doing hip hop. Come on now. So thank you for asking. Any other questions?
What are your favorite stories that you like to tell?
Ah, okay. I love Anansi the Spider. The history stories I love, but to have fun, I think there's so much of a Nancy the Spider in all of us, and also knowing the universality of a Nancy the Spider. For those who never heard of Nancy the Spider stories, they are actually out of West Africa among the Ashanti people. And when the Ashanti people were brought to the New World, which really wasn't new, they brought his stories. So there are stories about Anansi that come from Suriname, from Cuba, from the United States, from Jamaica. In Jamaica, he's Anansi the Spider-Man. And kids love the stories because we've all tried to get away with doing less. And Anansi shows us you're always going to get caught. Anansi and the moss-covered rock, kids love. I love that one too. But I also love Anansi, and his, what I call Anansi and his 6 children, or how the moon was put in the sky. I can go on about Anansi forever. Because Anansi and Jamaicans, it's interesting. You get people together from different cultures, and yet they know Anansi the Spider. And that's wonderful, wonderful. There used to be a 2 semi-annual conference in Brussels on Anansi the Spider. And people would gather from all over the world and come and tell stories. So yeah. The other one is the people who could fly. And that's the one kids love. So more is coming, more stories, because there's many stories out there. Do you have a favorite story? Oh, I need to hear him. Unmute him. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah, here I am.
There you are. What's your favorite story? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I like, I read it to my great-grandchild, The Little Engine That Could.
There you go. There you go. How many times have you read it?
I read it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. See, with storytelling, it brings a smile to you. I mean, in their adult stories, one of the best storyteller ever was Richard Pryor. Amazing. Yeah. I do have those stories. I call them night stories, and the folk tales and stuff. Those are my day stories. But we're storytelling people sharing stories about life. Richard Pryor is an amazing storyteller, wow. Eddie Murphy falls in there, Richard Pryor, and I got to give it up, Bill Cosby could tell a story. And then we go there, and I got to go to, oh my goodness, I forgot her name. Mama's Mabley could tell a story. And that's way before most of y'all's time. But Mama's Mabley could tell a story. We are all storytellers. Yeah. Any other questions? Before I break out my bottle of wine? Get ready for the debate. Somebody put a question up in the chat room?
Actually, I was just curious if you're ever going to come to Central Mass, because I know you're always out by way of Boston. I don't know if you know, but I'm like 70 miles from campus. So
I know. That's one of the things I want to do with Nina Simone and hip hop, because I think it's a tourable piece, and it's got power, and Nina Simone has a very vast audience, of all colors. My nieces, when they first saw me do it, my niece said, Auntie Valerie, I've never seen white people give a Black power salute and sing Young, Gifted, and Black. Yeah, she's across the board. And so I want to travel that, but I will travel. Find me a place. I'll come. I'm trying to get back to Western Mass. It's just about what I do, and storytelling. Yeah. As I said, you got a budget, you got me. So yes, Central Mass. Yeah, yeah, I do want to go back on the road. So let me know. I have to turn it over to Laurie and you, Wanda. I mean, I don't know if there are any other questions. See, I can entertain, I can talk. This is what I do. So it's cool. I am glad that you all called me and made me really think about tolerance and how it fits in my life. Because I never thought about that, even to identify that I am not tolerant. So I have to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I keep muting myself because my dog's snoring in the background, but thank you so much, Val. She's very loud. But you've been wonderful. Do we have any last questions for Valerie?
I just want to say thank you for spending time with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Listen to a lot of Nina Simone. Yeah, my pleasure. And tell stories. Tell wonderful stories. That's storytelling more than any book or any phone. It's nothing like going to perform and someone's like this. This is constant, it's the word that's important and passing on. So I wish you all the best. I've truly enjoyed myself. This was fun.
And thank you, Val. We have a lot of comments in the chat just saying thank you. You're wonderful. Happy birthday. Thank you so much.
I know my birthday. Thank you.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah, I know. Usually I have a Scorpio party, and this year I can't. Scorpio leather and lace. And the place is packed. Performers come in, I sing, folks come in, celebrate. People need to celebrate. This pandemic, the biggest concern is that we don't touch anymore. We don't connect anymore. We don't celebrate. I'm sorry, a Zoom leather and lace party ain't doing it for me. So it's like, what are we going to do? We need to connect. And that's feeding that other energy that's out there. So I can't wait to do that and celebrate. This to me was a celebration. And that's why I'm thanking you all so much. You're celebrating who we are and the things that we want to know and do. As I said in one of the pieces, I do, people make the world go on. A part of what I'm thinking is, I need you and you need me. I need you and you need me. I can't do it all by myself and neither can you. We need each other here. People do make the world go round. So that's how I feel. But I'm not tolerant. With that, I guess we're done. I'm seeing all of these. Thank you for the happy birthday. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I'll figure it out. I will figure it. If it comes, that's good enough right there. That's good enough because you never think, oh.
Valerie.
Yes.
If you are respectful,
yeah,
I know you are being tolerant.
Oh, is that? Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to mull that over a little bit, but okay. You see me thinking, but it is definitely worth mulling over. Yeah, okay. All right, I'll work with that. And I'll probably be thinking about this for the next week. It's going to pop up in my mind. And I will laugh and think about you. Say, oh, okay. It all works. We're here. And I'm very happy to do that with all of its challenges. I'm here. So I'm not quite sure, should I leave or we all just hanging out?
Well, I would just like to
over a bottle of red wine.
I'd like you to enjoy your one, but thank you for sharing your stories with us. This has been wonderful. Thank you for closing our weekend. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Okay.
Thank you, Valerie.
Have a wonderful
Thank
birthday.
you all for having me and staying and listening to me. It is appreciated.
Have a wonderful birthday.
Good night.
All right. Oh, you know I will. I'll be writing about it. There'll be pictures.